The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. For presidential aspirant Bongbong Marcos Jr., the petition to cancel his COC has no legal basis. Recall that Marcos' spokesperson, Attorney Vic Rodriguez, earlier said that the petition to cancel Marcos' COC was a, quote, predictable nuisance. In a statement, Marcos urges all of his supporters to keep rooting for him as he fights the petition. The former senator also said that he has personally seen the documents for his defense and that he is confident that the petition against him is without merit. Meanwhile, speaking on the Chiefs, Strat-based ADR Institute President Dindo Manhit says that currently Marcos leads the surveys. But in the event that he's disqualified, Manhit sees a close fight among presidential aspirants Leni Robredo, Isko Moreno, and Bongo in 2022.
If you remove Bongo Marcos, that was one of our scenarios, it actually becomes a tight race between a Duterte candidate, Leni Robredo, and Isko Moreno.
$3,530,400 more doses of SINOVAC vaccines have just arrived in the country as of today. The government-procured vaccines arrived at NAIA Terminal 2 in Pasay, and vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. said that most of today's shipment will be used for the 3-day national vaccination drive. With this latest delivery, the number of SINOVAC shots delivered to the country has reached more than 54 million, while the total number of vaccines in the country is at nearly 130 million. Bus drivers call for help as companies continue to withhold the salaries for the services that they rendered during lockdown, ferrying medical frontliners around the metro. Here's the report.
After a day of transporting medical frontliners in Caloocan, bus driver Agacon Cabrera is now going back to the Jackliner terminal to try to collect a month's worth of salary. According to Cabrera, the bus company still owes him about 100,000 pesos, which he says is from the LTFRB commissioned free rides program for healthcare workers from March to June. Cabrera's route was from Monumento in Caloocan to Pitex in Parañaque. He says the company claims that LTFRB still hasn't paid them for their service.
Tinatanong namin kung tungkol sa sahod, ang sabi nila, wala pang dumating sa kanilang papel galing sa LTFRB. Kasi kung meron daw dadating sa kanila na galing sa LTFRB, yun pa daw ang pagsahod sa amin.
Bus driver Walter Lalaka, who has been ferrying healthcare workers from Farmers Cubao to the Philippine General Hospital in Manila, is in the same boat. According to him, the bus company still hasn't given him his salary despite their promises.
Ang total ko po rito is mga nasa 140,000 pa, mga ganyan pa. Sabi nila, lingguhan para hindi mabigat ang pasahod. Hanggang sa naipon at ngayon po nung naipon na parang ayaw na nilang bitawan.
Currently, around 60 drivers are calling for help from the LTFRB for their unpaid salaries. They say that they risk their lives during lockdown to ferry healthcare workers to and from hospitals.
Sir, nasa panganib din yung buhay namin noon kasi siyempre yung panahon ng pandemic, kasagsagan ng COVID eh.
They're also not convinced that the LTFRB has yet to pay Jackliner since they say, according to LTFRB, they had already paid the company. News 5 sought comment from the bus company, but none of its representatives agreed to go on record. Arian Kalumbiran, we are One News.
MTF Special Advisor Dr. Ted Herbosa clarifies that private establishments may still require the use of face shields, despite being located in areas under alerts level 1, 2, or 3. Speaking on 1PH's Sa Totoo Lang, Herbosa said private establishments or institutions are allowed to have their own rules on the wearing of face shields despite the lifting of its mandatory use. He also notes the face shield requirement can only be lifted in areas with high vaccination rates and slow transmission rates for COVID-19. Herbosa adds that people in such areas may still voluntarily wear face shields to protect those who are not yet eligible to receive the vaccine, especially children below 12 years old. And for now, the public is advised to always keep a face shield in their bags, just in case these will be required in establishments.
These people can make the rules on what they feel is safer for their employees and the people working in that area. If a specific institution or office wants to impose it because maybe pangit yung ventilation dun sa kanilang office or masyadong maraming taong pumupunta, they can require the face shield. That's up to them. Pero it will not be citywide. You just have to make sure may dala ka siguro sa bag mo para in case yung papasokin mo and nag-require.
Some of you may already be planning on disposing your face shields now that its use is just optional. Well, better do it the right and eco-friendly way. Let's find out how in this report from Shyla Francisco.
Areas under alert levels 1 to 3 can now say goodbye to face shields. The government decided to make its use voluntary. LGUs under alert level 4 will have discretion on whether to carry the policy or not. But in places under alert level 5, as well as in quarantine and medical facilities, face shields will still be mandatory. This is good news to some, especially to those finding it hard to make ends meet.
Siyempre, kasi ako may anak ako. Pambili ko ng diaper, minsan binibili ko pa ng face shield. Kaya kung siyempre mabigat din siya minsan.
Retailers, of course, are not pleased with the news.
Malulugi yung kami, pero wala naman tayo magagawa dyan. Kaya sumusunod na tayo.
With the face shield requirement gone in several areas, some environment groups are appealing to the public to be mindful of how they dispose their used face shields. This barangay found a way to dispose theirs through recycling. To lessen trash use, face shields of residents here in Barangay Holy Spirit are shredded using this machine. After the process, it ends up like this. After which, these are mixed with cement to produce something like this brick. Used face shields are sanitized first before being recycled. Unused face shields, meanwhile, are turned into decorations like paroles and even torotos for the new year. The Environment Department is now coordinating with co-processing plants for waste-to-energy projects using face shields.
I-advocate namin yung paggamit ng co-processing. So ito yung gagawin nilang parang alternative sa mga fuel at yung gagamitin ng mga plastic.
Some groups, however, are against this process, since it makes use of incineration, which is harmful to the environment. But the DNR assured that only firms complying with the air quality standard will be allowed to co-process face shields. The DNR will provide LGUs with accredited haulers and companies to assist in the disposal of face shields. They will also release a step-by-step procedure on the proper disposal of face shields and other medical waste. Shyla Francisco, we are One News.
While President Duterte may have eased the face shield policy, he now wants LGUs to once again restrict entry of minors in public spaces. Patricia Mangune tells us why.
A literal breath of fresh air and some sunlight. For the first time since the pandemic started, Beverly was able to bring her one-year-old child out. But while the threat of COVID still looms, she says she's not as worried as before.
Siyempre, andun pa rin po yung takot na na baka mahawa yung baby namin. Pero sinisigurado po namin na sumusunod po kami sa protocols.
Other families have also taken the opportunity to take their kids out to the park. They say that the parks weren't as crowded as they expected.
Hindi naman po siya yung as in crowded. Saka nasa na rin po yan, pangangalaga na rin ng pangangatawan siguro, saka yung palakasan na rin sa immune system, bahala na. Pero para sa akin, safe naman po.
Other parents and guardians, meanwhile, chose to bring their kids to the malls. For them, wearing a face mask and face shield is enough protection.
Safe naman kasi una, pinapatupad naman ng IATF yung protocol nila. So wearing face mask, face shield. Tapos actually vaccinated naman kami. Kaso yung mga bata nga lang hindi. At saka okay naman dun sa mall. So no worries.
However, minors aged below 12 years old may have to wait a while longer before they can go out again. In his pronouncement on Monday, President Duterte urged local governments to enforce an ordinance restricting the entry of minors below 12 in malls. This comes after the health department reported a 2-year-old who contracted COVID-19 after going to a mall.
Certainly, we cannot allow those below 12 years old or those getting or still unvaccinated to be exposed to the risk of getting COVID-19 in public places.
City health officers and pediatricians have met to submit their recommendation to the Metro Manila Council. NCR mayors are now targeting to craft a unified policy to address the matter.
Ito po ay isasama natin, pati na po ang mga business leaders po natin para mag-exchange tayo ng mga kuro-kuro hinggil dito.
Titingnan natin kung ano ba talaga ang risk level ng pagpayag sa mga unvaccinated minors na pumunta sa malls. Ano ba mga safety precautions na pwedeng gawin?
NCR will remain under Alert Level 2 until month's end. The status allows minors to go to malls pending measures implemented by local governments. For News 5, Patricia Mangune. We are One News.
Here's a quick look at some of today's headlines. Vaccinated healthcare workers may get booster shots starting today. Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte and former Senator Bongbong Marcos confirmed their alliance for the 2022 polls. And House Majority Leader Martin Romualdez denies that there's a leadership coup brewing at the lower house. And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us later at 10:45 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.